This blaze sent smoke up in the air for hours and well into the night. Coming up, team coverage of the smoke seen for miles.
Also ahead, what more funding from the IDB will mean for foreign investment.
And an Olympic champion says she's run her last race. The National Report starts now.
Now in HD. ZNS Network presents The Bahamas Tonight. This segment of the news is brought to you by BTC, powered by Lime.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Keishla Adderley.
And I'm Kendino Knowles. As always, it's good to have you with us.
Topping the news tonight, fire officials worked throughout the early morning hours to extinguish a blaze that was seen across New Providence.
Authorities confirmed that the fire started at an auto establishment on Soldier Road shortly before 5 o'clock Monday afternoon. Now, our Altaviz Munnings was at the scene for several hours following this story. And she tells us that residents are calling for the removal of the auto company.
We followed the plume of black smoke from Collins Avenue straight to East Street. It practically covered the entire island of New Providence. And the evening traffic flow didn't help either, as police had to direct the bumper-to-bumper traffic on East Street and the East-West Highway. When we were able to finally wade through the heavy traffic flow on East Street on Monday evening, we ended up here at the Royal Bahamas Police Force's Traffic Division on the East-West Highway. As you can see behind me, we get a perfect view of the smoke billowing on the island. What we understand so far is that the fire is emanating from Strawn's Auto, an establishment on Soldier Road. Wow. Residents through a side corner of the Churchill subdivision stood in disbelief as the blaze erupted right in front of them. Most of them told our news team that they were concerned that after reportedly calling the fire department 3 times, no relief had been in sight. When we initially arrived in the vicinity, a man who lived in the house adjacent to the fire got home right in time to evacuate, and most of his neighbors pitched in to help. We weren't able to speak with him, but their quick action saved the day. Now, residents in the apartment building on the next corner stood on the roof to watch the inferno and see what firefighters were doing for themselves. Christina Sweeting is among them.
It's always been a problem. It's always catch the fire, and then we just go through the motions. But I guess this year it's probably the worst.
Landlord Mervyn Sweeting went on the roof himself to view the blaze, but minutes later, police had to escort him and others away from the fire. Other residents took matters into their own hands to douse the fire too. Authority learned about the fire around 4:30 p.m. on Monday.
Everybody's assisting in their own way, trying to assist in getting this particular blaze under control at this particular time. At this time, we're unable to say what may have caused the blaze. I cannot at this time give you an approximate area of the area that is concerned in the blaze right now.
The Member of Parliament for Garden Hills, Dr. Kendall Major, combed the area to view the impact of the fire for himself. He said he learned from constituents that this was reportedly the 4th fire from this establishment that has affected this area of New Providence. While he was very concerned for the health and safety of his constituents, he also listed to us 2 solutions he believes could stop this problem permanently. The first is proper zoning.
So now we have to look at some type of relocating businesses like this in areas where they can be contained. Secondly, we have to think of health and safety, and that is protection of property and life, and human life.
Our next move was at a heavy equipment company adjacent to Strawn's Auto. Workers were trying to move as much equipment as possible. Even the goats had to leave. A Garden Hills resident, on the condition of anonymity, informed us that a petition was circulated some time ago to have this establishment removed from the area.
I've been living here for 22 years, and it's been a problem because every time they put garbage over there with those old trucks and stuff, and they catch a fire, we in Garden Hills, we suffer because the smoke comes in our house and we don't know what's going on, the roaches, the rats, and all that sort of stuff.
As we record this, it's shortly minutes before 10 o'clock. Police continue to mount the effort to extract water from the ground, and the fire at Strawn's Auto is still blazing behind me. We can tell you that residents in this area have already retreated inside their homes, and police will continue to investigate this fire into the early morning hours. Reporting from Soldier Road, I'm Tues Munnings, ZNS Network News.
Well, Environment and Housing Minister Ken Dorset says a team from the Department of Environmental Health Services will conduct an assessment of the Strawn's Auto establishment where that massive fire broke out yesterday.
Now, Minister Dorset said he and his team are always concerned about the impact fires of such a magnitude could have on the environment, and he's encouraging residents in the surrounding communities who may be experiencing respiratory challenges to see a doctor as soon as possible.
The reality is it is a commercial property that has been licensed to conduct its operations. I think that hindsight is always 20/20. And for a country who has developed its commercial enterprises in an ad hoc manner without proper land planning, these are the sort of circumstances that you are faced with from time to time. But I think that the reality is we have to examine the facts and determine the best way forward. But I think that I've heard rumors that this is a derelict vehicle site. It is not that. There's only one official derelict vehicle site, and that's the facility at Marshall Road. And so I want to make sure that that's clear.
Now, the owner of Strawn's Auto, Everett Strawn, is also speaking out on the fire and apologizing for any disturbance it may have caused residents.
Strawn's Auto has been in the Garden Hills area for several decades, first as an auto repair shop, and now it serves as a vehicle recycling facility.
Now, Strawn says that while the event was an unfortunate one, it highlights the underlying problem of scrap metal and copper theft in the country, which he's blaming for that blaze.
Our Janelle Noel Ferguson has that angle of the story.
After the smoke cleared over at Strawn's Auto, where Monday's fire originated, proprietor Everett Strawn is assessing the damage and also considering the future of his business. While he knows the location of his business has been a concern for many in the area for years, he believes Monday's incident was the result of persons unlawfully entering his property.
We were actually closed. We had checked our premises. Everything was in order. We were leaving, and someone was in the back stealing, cutting, doing things, and next thing you know, we run down the back, there's a fire. And then, the people ran and we're stuck, and everybody's upset, rightly so, because they feel that we're just negligent and we don't care, and it's not that at all. We have 1,000 reports at East Street South Police Station. We've caught persons in the back there, we've been in confrontations with people. And it's a problem.
But the ban placed on the export of certain materials, he says, caused an excessive amount of cars to accumulate.
Copper craze got on and people started stealing, and government put the squeeze on that. Government put the squeeze on not just copper but metals. And so it really affected us. But we somehow need some kind of assistance to be able to move these things out of the country more accommodating, more freely.
Now, the smoke from yesterday's fire stretched back as far as 3 corners deep into the Garden Hills community, affecting neighboring homes like this one. According to Strawn, he has spoken to government officials on the matter, and if the opportunity presents itself, he says he will be willing to relocate.
I've been thinking about that and praying about that last night, and if the government would assist us somehow, we would love to do that. It would take a little bit of time, but I have no problem.
Meanwhile, police and fire officials are continuing their investigations into this matter. Janelle Noel Ferguson, ZNS Network News.
In our first look at weather, we have 2 mid-level troughs, one over southern Florida, the second over the southern Bahamas, both firing up showers and thunderstorms over those areas. But outside of our studios just now, we have partly cloudy skies, temperature 84 degrees, a relative humidity 66%, winds out of the southeast at 9 knots, barometric pressure 1,019.4 millibars. That's about 30.10 inches, and it is steady. But stay tuned, temperatures around the family violence, travel, and boating forecast is still to come.
The Bahamas and the Inter-American Development Bank signed a letter of intent today, securing up to $450,000 to improve the planning capacity of the Office of the Prime Minister. The money will help track investment yields. Prime Minister Christie, calling the IDB a great friend of the Bahamas, noted pending investment opportunities in the months ahead are cause for optimism. This as he accepted the money from IDB President Luis Alberto Moreno.
We are going to use all the expertise of the bank to support you on this, and we're very privileged of having given this honor, and we call this technical cooperation, but for all those members of the media, this doesn't have any cost to the Bahamas. On the contrary, this is funds that we provide at no cost.
My optimism is now being driven by the reality of interest being expressed by foreign investors in different parts of the Bahamas about this being the time for them to invest significantly. And we are encouraged by the fact that on Friday, a few days from today, we will introduce a $100 million development that is taking place as we speak on the island of Bimini. A few months from now, we will introduce another significant development in Grand Bahama. And we are projecting these kinds of developments, notwithstanding when one looks generically at what the growth patterns are supposed to be.
Last year, the Bahamas attracted $1 billion in foreign direct investment. Minister for Investments Kailas Roll explains that the money from the IDB will finally bring about a more deliberate accounting of investments.
I don't know that we have done an economic development plan in this country for the last 40 years. We've participated in activities designed around economic development, but this is to provide a strategic focus, a surgical focus, so that at the end of the day, when we receive $1.5 billion worth of foreign direct investment, the downstream benefits of that money is felt throughout the economy.
BTC CEO Jeff Houston today said that ongoing negotiations between BTC's parent company, Cable and Wireless, and the Bahamas government do not involve BTC executives and do not affect its current day-to-day operations. Prime Minister Perry Christie announced last week that Cable and Wireless has requested an extension of its exclusivity for wireless service in exchange for 2% of shares, giving the government a 51% majority in the company. The monopoly is set to end in March 2014, and the telecom CEO says while talks continue, BTC is moving forward with its business plan.
Our focus really at BTC is to continue on this journey of competing with the competitors that we have today, and continuing to get ourselves ready for new competition coming into the market in the form of a new mobile player. So that's really the focus for us at BTC. And my aim, as always, is to try and make sure that my team don't get too distracted by the conversation that is going on between the shareholders. And we've got there's many examples that we're picking up in the business now of we are starting to turn the corner in terms of getting much more competitive.
Now, from an operational standpoint, Houston says there's a reasonable relationship with the government that exists despite what has been said in the media. Houston says BTC remains committed to improving the challenges that still exist with its services.
Well, the monopoly has ended already in certain market segments, and the monopoly has ended it everywhere apart from mobile. So we are sharpening up our customer and competitive skills by starting to address the competitive issues around our broadband business and around our fixed line wireline business. And we're readying ourselves for new competition coming in mobile, so nothing's really changed at BTC. We feel that we're getting ourselves into a much better shape. We still have a lot of work to do, but we're fully committed to that journey here inside the company. And as part of our commitment to make sure that we provide the best network experience, we've also just recently approved another $20 million plus upgrade to our mobile network. And that's going to provide more capacity, more coverage, and allow us to deploy the latest technology called LTE, which is 10 times faster than 4G. So we're on that journey, and we're not taking our eyes off the need to get more and more competitive here at BTC.
Even though the Bahamas boasts of having a dynamic tourism product, Tourism Director General David Johnson says the reality is the industry hasn't seen any significant growth.
Now, the opening of the multi-billion-dollar Bahama development is expected to turn things around next year. However, there's one other challenge. Mr. Johnson says the Bahamas is being outperformed by its competitors when it comes to service.
The Bahamas service levels are still not where they need to be in order for us to achieve the level of profitability that's required to fuel the growth we need. So it's a vicious cycle. A profit drives investment, and investment drives growth, and service drives profit.
We will be competing with some of the best and major brands throughout the world. And the concern is to make sure it's not just a question of just showing up to work and doing your job, as people say. It's a question of delivering quality experiences for our visitors that creates a desire to make them want to return.
Mr. Johnson was addressing the Educators Industry Internship put on by the Bahamas Hotel and Tourism Association. Bahama has already become a major driver of the Bahamian economy, and within its first year of opening, officials of the mega resort expect a significant increase in stopover visitors.
Bahama will add another layer of almost 25% in 1 year, increase in the size of our tourism sector. That's over 400,000 roughly additional visitors staying over on top of a base of about 1.4 million that we have today. That's unprecedented growth.
Coming up, the Deputy Prime Minister reacts to his aide being shot.
And BTC gives back to the community. You're watching The Bahamas Tonight.
Like politics and Junkanoo, religion plays a fundamental part of Bahamian culture. For me, I grew up in church. My activities as a youngster revolved around church, from scouts to the youth group to the sporting activities. I even attended a church school, and it's all helped to shape me and mold me into the person that I've become. And it all goes to show the influence that the church has in Bahamian society. You know, as Bahamians, we love to open everything with prayer. We're always quoting biblical scriptures, and anytime there's any festivities, a church service is a part of it. And we live in a world where people are prosecuted for their religion, but as we celebrate our 40th independence anniversary, I'm most proud of the freedom to worship, in whatever denomination it may be, whether it be Roman Catholic, Baptist, Adventist, Presbyterian, Pentecostal, Jumpa, or for me, Anglican.
This portion of the news is brought to you by Shell Helix Ultra. Performance you can see.